Hi everyone, Robert Peak here from the Spontaneous Dungeon Master, and I want to talk a little bit about inspiration points in 5th edition, which is this system designed to gamify role-playing, encourage role-playing in some way, but as a lot of people have pointed out, it's not great. There's a lot of problems with it, and I think the Angry GM gave some great arguments in his traditional ranty kind of way about why it's not so great. So I'll link to that article. And he has some ideas about how to fix it. And I've been thinking a lot about the intention behind it, which is to reward role-playing. And one of the things I want to like to do, is reward improvisation, right? Reward, not only just, doing something that I would arbitrarily determine to be good role-playing, but doing specific things that improve the improvisational quality of a session. And one of the biggest, this comes out of the thinking, again, the kind of Keith Johnston impro thinking, and in particular, this teacher called Remy Bertrand, who basically says, when you're in the stuff, get more in the stuff. When you're in a dramatic moment, when you're in a bind, when you're in trouble, when things aren't going well, worsen it. Make it worse. Throw yourself in the stuff. Throw other people in the stuff. Because it's so much more interesting to watch, A, when the situation is dramatic, and B, it brings you alive in the moment, because now you're really having to think on your feet. Now there's really something at stake. You're not only in it, you're out of the frying pan and into the fire in this case. And it leads to more spontaneity, more creative thinking, more juice. In life, we're so often taught to avoid conflict, to avoid drama, to let it go, to not go there, to hesitate, to hold it back, to certainly not throw your buddies into it. For goodness sake, gain consensus, talk it through. Don't just dive in, like Leroy Jenkins and ruin the whole thing. But in role-playing games, that's exactly what makes a scene or even a whole session fun and interesting. And so the way I use inspiration points, first of all, I wanted it to be clearly defined, like how do you actually get one, not some arbitrary, oh, you role-played well kind of thing that I'm deciding, like they're somehow performing for me. So I wanted it to be clearly defined, but I also wanted it to promote improvisation. And so what I came up with is, you gain an inspiration point by doing something that's highly character motivated, something that resonates with what your character would do in that situation, that also imperils you or the party in some way, right? So the barbarian that just rushes into battle while the rest of the party's trying to figure it out, is absolutely inspiration point worthy. But just as much so, the thief that can't resist picking that pocket, even though they know that this is a dangerous, bad thing to do, because it's what their character really would do, equally inspiration point right there. One of the things this does is it encourages and it gamifies that whole experience of thinking like your character rather than thinking like the cautious player that you are that wants to get along with the other players and do the right thing. But it also kind of counterbalances that in a way. It's sort of like being who you are bestows unto you a little bit of luck, right? So you can use your advantage right there, right away on that roll to pick the pocket of that nobleman, knowing it's going to be trouble if you fail. But hey, you're extra lucky because you did it, because you're being you. The fates sort of smile upon you, if you like. So this is the way I run it. It's been a lot of fun because it's A, been clear cut, and B, motivating something that makes the game actually more fun. That's not just this kind of arbitrary thing. It's not a game thing, right? Like you gain it for reaching a certain level or achieving a certain thing. It's not an arbitrary thing like, hey, good job role-playing just then. It's well defined, but it serves a purpose. It motivates people to want to get out there and get in the stuff and make things more complicated and stir up trouble. And that's where a lot of the fun lies. It forces our hand into spontaneity, into thinking on our feet. It raises the stakes. It makes the game, I think, a lot more enjoyable. So there you go.